Joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight, I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you here. I'm Whitney Ward. A Washington construction company is being fined by the state for safety violations after a Spokane woman was killed on the job earlier this year.
Anna Vetter died at the site of the new Spokane Tribe Casino in Airway Heights back in March. KREM 2's Shannon Mouty spoke with the Vetter's family, who says it is not the accountability they have been hoping for. Shannon?
Anna Vetter was killed when a formwork collapsed here at the construction site at the Spokane Tribe Casino. And we have now learned from a citation report that the contractor has been fined, but Vetter's parents say it's not enough. The work is moving on at the Spokane Tribe Casino expansion. But for the parents of Anna Vetter, moving on became impossible March 7th.
I mean, it seems like yesterday and it seems like an eternity.
Anna died while working on the site after a formwork gave out. One of the contractors on the project, SAK Builders, was fined $16,800 by Washington's Department of Labor and Industries. The violations all stem from issues with the flipper deck, a platform used in concrete formwork. L&I says the deck's working surfaces weren't correctly sized, were missing required safety pins and supports, and employees on site weren't given the manufacturer's safety documentation for the correct use or installation of the flipper deck. L&I said employees were working on unstable surfaces that could shift or fall without warning, leading to serious injury or death.
I'm just furious. It's beyond my comprehension.
But the Vetters, who live in Western Washington, are even more frustrated with the fine itself.
$16,000, it's nothing. I mean, to them, it's not about the money. It's about taking the responsibility.
And say that piece, accountability for Anna's death, is still missing.
And the citation doesn't mention anything about that this scaffolding, faulty scaffolding, killed a person.
It's unclear if the death investigation is complete. L&I didn't respond to our request for an interview. SAK Builders and its parent company, Swinnerton, also didn't respond to emails and calls. The Vetter's parents tell me they have spoken with attorneys, but say they have been told because they aren't the next of kin, they won't be able to file a lawsuit. And we are still working to find out if Vetter's fiance, who would be the next of kin, is pursuing legal action. Shannon Mouty, KREM 2 News.
Shannon, thank you very much. In our other top stories tonight, one man is in jail after an hours-long standoff with police that prompted a shelter-in-place order this morning in Moscow.
Yeah, Moscow police say 54-year-old Thomas Adams fired multiple shots. It was around 2 o'clock this morning on South Almond Street. Police say when they arrived on scene, Adams barricaded himself in his residence. Then after 7 hours of refusing to come out, officers say they used tasers and tear gas to finally bring that standoff to an end.
Ultimately, SWAT officers made entry into Mr. Adams' apartment and were able to take him into custody without further incident.
Police say no one was hurt in the standoff. Adams now faces multiple charges, including the unlawful discharge of weapons, disturbing the peace, and resisting and obstructing officers.
Narcan is now available at local grocery and drugstores over the counter.
Naloxone, commonly known as Narcan, can be used to safely reverse an opioid overdose.
It is a life-saving tool that stores like Walmart and Rite Aid are now selling in stores and online without the need for a prescription. We checked Walmart.com today. The drug is already available for pickup across several stores in Spokane County. That 2-dose box will cost about $45.
Well, tonight, new information on how investigators believe the Oregon road fire near Elk started. Fire officials report the more than 10,000-acre fire was human-caused.
That fire also claimed 1 life and destroyed 126 homes. KREM 2's Janelle Finch is joining us now here in the studio to tell us how investigators have come to that determination. Janelle?
While investigators may have determined what caused the devastating Oregon road fire, we still don't know exactly how it started. I sat down with the Washington Department of Natural Resources to learn more about human-caused fires and what they mean in the investigation process. Every fire starts with a spark. Now, how a spark gets its start may not be such an obvious fact.
What kicked it off? That's the hard work our investigators do.
The Oregon road fire near Elk burned more than 10,000 acres and hundreds of homes. Tuesday, fire officials determined the fire was man-caused. Joe Smiley with the Department of Natural Resources says investigators came to this finding by ruling out natural causes.
Basically, if there wasn't lightning in the area at that time, it's probably human cause. That doesn't necessarily mean arson, could mean arson, but most of the fires in Washington, about 90% every year, are caused by humans.
Smiley says of that 90%, about 50% are negligently or intentionally started. He explains how the remaining 40% of fires can spark.
A debris pile that got away from somebody, a railroad can spark a fire. Chains dragging on the side of a highway can start a fire, farming.
The Babb Road fire is an example of a destructive human-caused fire that wasn't arson. The fire destroyed most of Malden and Pine City back in 2020. The fire began after a tree branch fell on a power line. Its start was considered human-caused because Avista was responsible for maintaining the trees near the power line, and it didn't. Smiley says the Oregon Roads fire origin story is still being investigated. He says it could take days or weeks to come to a full understanding of what exactly sparked the deadly fire near Elk. DNR says once investigators determine where the fire began, they can start asking how it began. This includes assessing the area around the origin point and interviewing neighbors about what they may have seen or heard. In the studio, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
All right, Janelle, thank you very much. Taking a quick break from the headlines, let's take a quick look at the forecast with meteorologist Michelle Boss.
Michelle, a beautiful day out there. So how many more of these can we enjoy?
We've got a whole week long of beautiful weather to enjoy that's going to warm us up and maybe give us a little taste of the last parts of summer for the weekend as we see a return of 80-degree highs. But outside right now, as we take a look at satellite and radar, there were just a few fair weather cumulus clouds over the higher terrain, and that's about it. Plenty of sunshine across the region today, and temperatures which warmed up into the lower 70s here in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, low to mid 70s. It's currently 72 in Deer Park, mid 70s in Moses Lake and Grand Coulee, and a couple of spots did make it up into the 80s today. Omak currently sitting at 80 and Lewiston at 82. Short-term forecast is pretty quiet. Clear skies expected for the evening. Clear skies for most of the overnight hours, but you'll probably be waking up to a little bit more cloud cover than what we saw today. We're going to see more clouds tomorrow, so we'll call it partly to mostly cloudy, but temperature-wise, still pretty mild. Mid 70s for highs, full sunshine for Thursday, 76, and our really only chance of rain for this week occurs on Friday morning with some isolated showers. Otherwise, the afternoon, the sun will be back with a high of 78.